All right, let's talk about the roast of Tom Brady. So what is this? What is going on here? Well, kind of a surprising thing, as Tom Brady agreed to do, a Comedy Central style roast of himself, as many comedians and former teammates of Tom Brady would get together and make jokes about each other and also about Brady. I was growing up a pretty big fan of the original Comedy Central roast, so this is something I'm definitely was interested in checking out, although I haven't really watched them probably in like a decade at this point. But I was interested in seeing how this would go. And my first, I think, biggest surprise about this show was just how long it was. So if you're someone who hasn't seen it yet, it's a 3 hour long show, and that's without commercials or anything. There's no intermission, so it is definitely a lengthy trip to watch this. It is also a live show, and while doing a little bit of looking online after I watched it just to see where other people's heads were at, a lot of people liked those two facts about it. To me, I wasn't as crazy about it, just because I did think with the live show, you definitely saw some maybe uncomfortable pauses by the non-comedians, things that could have maybe been edited down a little bit just to flow a little nicer. There was a moment during Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura's situation where there was just people like walking behind them as they were trying to give a presentation. I think I forget who it was. I think it might have been Andrew Solch, like stuck his head out and then realized that like it was going on, looked back. So that's something that obviously if it was not live they could have gotten rid of, which is maybe part of the charm of it as well. But for me, again, the runtime, I did feel maybe not some people really like these kind of events. So if you really like it, you'll probably say, hey, I don't want, I'm fine with more of a good thing. But sometimes I feel like there can be too much of a good thing. So that was kind of my thought on that. But I figured it could be fun to just go through every single person who appeared on stage and give my quick thoughts on it. I thought this could be a fun thing to do. First, Kevin Hart, who has a tough job. He does. I mean, being the roast master, or I forget what you call it, but the sort of MC of the night. It's difficult. First off, you have to open, which is already difficult enough, but especially when you're the whole point of a roast is you're being mean to people, essentially. So, if that's what you're doing, if you're starting it off, I think it's just going to be a little surprising for like an audience to be like, oh yeah, yes, this is how it works. Yes, this is how these things go. But I think there's a little bit of a warming up period you have there. So I don't know. Kevin Hart wasn't my favorite, but I didn't think he like ruined it or anything either. Then Jeff Ross appeared. He appeared as O.J. Simpson, which was an interesting choice. And yeah, I mean, he was Jeff Ross. It makes sense that you have him open because he's very good at this stuff. And definitely one thing I noticed is you would see Tom Brady. He wasn't liking every joke, which I thought was interesting. And maybe if it wasn't live, they would have edited around that. But definitely you could tell, like some of the Giselle jokes, he was really uncomfortable with, which was interesting. Usually they kind of, I think there's like fake laughter at every joke just because that's what you're supposed to do. Not the case with Brady, I thought. But then we get to an athlete, and they would kind of go back and forth, like athlete, non-athlete, because again, like for Drew Bledsoe, you could tell like this is just not something he's fully comfortable with doing, right? I mean, he's a quarterback, he's not a comedian, and in fairness to him, like I'm sure that he's better at public speaking than a lot of us would be, right? It's just that when you're going after Jeff Ross, who does it for a living, obviously there's going to be a bit of a barrier there. I thought his jokes are funny. Again, a little bit uncomfortable, but I thought he did. It was still I think he found himself after a little bit and did a good job. And then following up was Nikki Glazer, who, she had a joke about Gronkowski that did really well in the room. I saw people online kind of very thrilled with this section. Kevin Hart was going crazy. I think like everyone on the stage complimented her at one point. I thought it was good. I was kind of surprised so many other people were that blown away by it. Personally, maybe I missed something. I don't know, but I thought it was still funny. Moving on to Randy Moss, as again, some of the comedians I'm not going to have that much to say about, but Randy Moss was not great. He definitely wasn't great. His delivery wasn't really there. It was kind of one of those, yeah, but he's Randy Moss, whatever. It feels like if this was an edited show, they would have like cut like half of his bit, half of his section in half. But I thought he had maybe the funniest bit of the night though, when he was talking about how he wishes that he was able to cheat and Tom Brady cheated before him and after him, and he's like, why wouldn't you cheat with me? I thought that was a good bit. So yeah, still worth having for sure. And then Kim Kardashian came up, which this happened a few times throughout the show where it's like, oh, you're doing okay, like I didn't realize you were here like to do comedy, but okay. First off, she got booed right away, which there was a couple of boos, which I was not expecting her to get booed like that. And there was a bit of like a why is she here vibe to it. I didn't fully understand that because she wasn't on the stage, right? She wasn't like part of the roast. She just came up. She still did a bit of a section. I have to say though, I thought she did pretty good. Like I didn't think it was like bad at all. It was a quick bit. She was funny when she was out there. There was a legitimate like early internet meme, like even with the early internet meme font at a certain point during this thing, which I wasn't expecting. But again, as a whole, she had an O.J. Simpson joke that I thought was pretty funny. So like yeah, it was not expecting. It definitely was threw me for a loop when she went up there. But yeah, I thought she did a pretty decent job. And then we have potentially the low light of the night, in my opinion. There were two sections of this roast that I thought were real lulls in it. The Bert and Tom section, which I think maybe they really enjoyed being up there. It seemed like they were having a great time. They definitely weren't pulling any punches. At one point, they said Tom Brady is like Hitler, and that they wished he would shoot himself in the head, which is like, okay, that's a bold swing, and if it doesn't hit, it's probably not gonna go over super well. I don't think they didn't like bomb, they didn't get booed or anything like that, but it was not my favorite section of the of the special. There are people that I feel like they get a lot of criticism online. I don't know. I tend to like them when I see them. I don't listen to their podcast, which a lot of these people are podcasters, but I don't listen to their podcast or anything like that. But when I see them in interviews or whatever, I usually think they're pretty funny. But this was a horrendous misfire. This was for comedians. This was terrible, and I almost wonder if the way these things work is everyone else that isn't a comedian, they usually get, they have writers who write jokes for them. So like, for example, like Bill Belichick, he's not sitting there writing jokes. Now he has to prove all the jokes that, come his way, and he has an impact in it and all that stuff. So he might still write some of the jokes, but definitely, that's usually how it works. I almost wonder if, because Bert and Tom don't have those writers and are instead coming up with it themselves, sometimes it can lead to maybe it not going so well. I don't know what the deal was, but that was a rough spot, I thought. We actually had a run on comedians a little bit where we had Sam J was next, who I had never heard of personally, but I thought they were funny. I don't have a ton to say about it, but yeah, I thought that worked. I guess they're we used to write on SNL and then have their own show and stuff. So okay, interesting enough. We didn't have Ron Burgundy, which I gotta say, listen, I'm 28 years old. I grew up right around the prime time to fall in love with the movie Anchorman, and I did. I think it's I haven't seen it in a while, but it's definitely one of the ones I loved when I was younger. I have to say though, Ron Burgundy has shown up in so many other events since then, and I don't know if I've really ever found them that funny. They're always kind of just like cute, and that's what I thought this was. Like, it's fun, it's fine, but I'm like, I don't know. I almost would have rather just Will Ferrell to go up there and do comedy that way, right? Like, maybe it's just a me thing, but I'm not as crazy about it. But then it led to probably the best part of the night was just Bill Belichick entering, right? Because I think I saw online that he was going to be there, and you certainly were at least considering, expecting potentially for him to be there. One thing I liked is they had they wanted to do like Star Wars entrance music, but clearly couldn't get the rights, so there was like a rip-off Star Wars, Darth Vader theme as he was walking out, which was fun. Another guy that like, you can tell he's uncomfortable a bit with it. Like, you can tell it's just not something he's used to doing. I thought he actually handled the crowd pretty well, was able to kind of get them to quiet down when he wanted to tell the joke, and he told the jokes pretty well as well. I liked his delivery, even if you could tell he was a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, a lot of funny jokes of him. I'm kind of more interested in general, maybe it's just me, but like, this is more fun, even if his jokes weren't as good as some of the funnier comedians. Like, I thought that just like him being up there, kind of telling the jokes, that's more fun for me. It would lead to another non-comedian, although kind of, because Julian Edelman has done comedy before. Like, he's done sketch comedy and stuff. So, like, he's not a comedian by trade, but he at least has some experience with this. And, his delivery was very good. You could tell he took it seriously. And, man, did that guy not pull any punches. He was, I believe he started off with saying, like, I'm going to tell black jokes. Like, that was, like, his open to the bit. Although, I thought the jokes didn't cross the line or anything with that aspect of it. As a whole, I thought that he was, it was funny for me. I was definitely surprised to see just how far he went with some of the jokes, which obviously some people are going to like more than others. But yeah, that was interesting. Then we had the Kill Tony Hinchcliffe, who first, the Dana White was up there, which, okay, fine. I didn't need to see a minute of Dana White doing comedy, but okay. But Tony Hinchcliffe was, I thought, very good. I thought that he was maybe the best act of the night. I thought that he, did a lot of really good stuff, kind of a lot of rapid fire, funny jokes. So yeah, and he's someone who he used to write actually for the Comedy Central roast. So kind of makes sense that he's good at roasting. And then we had Rob Gronkowski next on the list, who, this was interesting. This was, so again, if you didn't see it and are just wanting to hear my thoughts on it, Rob Gronkowski was someone who was very drunk. I think is the only way I can really describe it. I think drunk, hopefully just alcohol is what he was on, because he was so very charismatic. That's the thing about Gronkowski, is it really goes to show how much you can get away with in life if you have charisma, which Gronkowski absolutely does. He's very charismatic. His jokes were not good. They weren't, and he would sometimes brag about the jokes that he wrote. At one point, he said, "I'm just saying things," and then clearly was. Like, he was just bragging about how Tom Brady would sometimes run his own routes, and they would score touchdowns and having a good time. And then he had them all take shots. He couldn't find the shot glasses. Finally takes a shot and then smashes the shot glass on the floor like a Gronk spike in a way that you could tell was not meant to happen. That was not a planned bit, because why would you approve of smashing glass on the floor where people have to walk? Gronkowski definitely, he was having a good time out there. That was interesting. That was a moment for sure to be remembered. Then we have, we're getting towards the end of the show. Andrew Schultz, I thought, was also very funny. Had maybe one of my favorite jokes of the night about Dana White, which was very good. Again, sometimes the comedians are tough to do a review, because, like, hey, this professional comedian was funny. Moving on. Robert Kraft, I thought, was actually really funny as well. Kevin Hart said that Kraft didn't let anyone else write his jokes. He wrote them all himself, which if that's the case, like, he was, I thought, really good. Like, I thought that he had a really funny Jimmy Garoppolo joke about, like, it was not about Garoppolo, but about the Raiders got rid of Garoppolo, so then, they've done something that Tom Brady already likes. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, I thought Kraft did a good job. They then, he took a shot with Bill Belichick, which I gotta say, like, if I'm one of those two guys and someone else is telling me to take a shot live on air, you kind of have to say yes. But, like, what if you don't want to take a shot? I don't like taking shots personally. Like, I don't want to ruin, what if these guys aren't the youngest guys? Like, is that something they want to do? I don't know. It's interesting, but it was a nice moment with them. Kevin, and even Belichick, even, like, seemingly, like, grabbed his glass that he was drinking, and then Hart was like, no, has to be a shot. So I don't know. Maybe let him just clink their drinks together or something. But it worked out. It was a nice moment. Then we had Ben Affleck, who, if to describe his, he was, I said, earlier I said Bert and Tom might have been the lowest point of the night. The only reason I said might is because also Ben Affleck was here, which was a surprise in general, because he was kind of a surprise guest, like, oh my God, we got Ben Affleck. But, like, is he that much more famous than someone, like, don't get me wrong, he's certainly a very famous person and, like, is a big get for sure for Netflix here. But at the same time, I wasn't like, oh my, I don't think he's someone who I'm like, oh my God, how did they get Ben Affleck? But still, I'm fine, whatever. I'm interested in hearing what he has to say. And the only way I can really describe it is he mostly was just mad at Twitter trolls. Like, that seemed to be most of his frustration, which, like, okay, listen, I'm not a big fan of Twitter trolls either. I get some criticism online, although nowhere near as much as Brady or Ben Affleck get, obviously. But, like, I don't know. It was just kind of a weird bit. It was a weird bit. I didn't really fully get what happened here. This was a bad moment. The only reason I'm a little bit more forgiving of him is, like, well, again, yes, he's an actor, but he isn't a comedian. Like, this isn't something he's used to doing. But still, you'd think that there'd be writers to kind of help him out a little bit. Did he, like, it almost seemed like it wasn't even planned, and just happened to be backstage and, like, said, I want to go out here, and, like, did it and just went off the cuff, because it was not great. Then Peyton Manning came out. What you gotta do, Peyton Manning, if you're gonna have, Peyton Manning has to be out here. And I thought he was fun, but also it was short. Like, I felt like some of these people went on for a really long time. Peyton Manning seemingly, maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like he wasn't out there for too long. And I'm wondering if it's one of those situations where there's, it's late in the show. People were probably going long because you're not comedians. Like, Belichick basically said, like, I'm supposed to be done, but can I have a couple more minutes? And they said, yeah, sure. Like, he said that just into the camera. So, yeah, but I thought it was fun. And then Tom Brady came up and he was, he was great. Again, just kind of knowing how these things go, a lot of times the writers will save some of the best material for the end of the show just because they want to, want to end it on a high note, right? So because of that tends to be how it goes. And just, it's the roast of Tom Brady. If he's going at the end, if he's not that good, then it's it's not as fun of a show. But yeah, I thought that he still did a very good job with his delivery and everything. Again, some edgy jokes here, a lot of edgy jokes throughout this show, which was I was surprised about, to be honest. I think that I'm not really going to get into what all the thoughts that people are going to have on that stuff, obviously, just because I don't think this is the time or place for that. But yeah, that's definitely just something that if you haven't seen it yet and are interested in it, maybe you should be warned ahead of time. That is something that tends to be the case on these roasts in general, but I don't know if I was fully expecting it on more of a, I was expecting this to be more of like almost like it's more football than like roast, but no, it was just a regular roast with a lot of football players there. So yeah, as a whole, I thought it was a fun show. I'll be honest, if Netflix does another roast and it's not like a celebrity I'm that interested in, I'm not sure if I'm going to check it out. Personally, just because unless it's a shorter runtime, because this 3 hours is a long time to devote to something like this. But for this, I thought it was entertaining enough. So those are kind of my thoughts. But yeah, what did you think about it? Do you agree with my takes on some of these performers, or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.